Hi there, this is Lisa. Today is April 23rd, 2019, and you're watching The Backward Glance. On this channel, we learn about items that are statistically likely to sell quickly on eBay in the apparel category. And we'll look at some sales that I've made recently that sold within 1 month of listing from my shop. I'm going to give you some numbers when we go through these listings, and I want you to keep in mind that these numbers represent pre-owned buy it now items. I have my eBay app filtered so that is what I'm searching for when I'm looking up comps. I also wanted to make a note that you'll notice I am not taking best offers. So when you see my pricing and it looks a little lower than maybe some of the comps that you're pulling up, one reason is that a lot of those people are including best offer, and you can almost always assume that they are actually selling their item for a little lower than the price that you're seeing. I decided not to do best offer on my items, so the price you see, unless I actually made an offer to a buyer separately, is going to be the price I sold it for. And all of these particular items I did sell for the price that you'll see on the screen. So let's just start here. I've got these cool women's sweatpants. These were like a lounge pant with a pull-on waist, which is not sort of normal for their brand. I'm usually looking for hiking pants or things like that. So I wasn't sure how these would do, but I did look up cool pull-on pants. There were 13 available and 20 sold as of today when I looked up these numbers. I paid $5.57 for this pair. They sold for $28 and they took 23 days. Next up are these Title IX shorts. These sold just today. I looked up, this was the style name Rogue, and then the tag said Nimbleen, which is what they kind of call their special fabric that they use. So I looked up Title IX Rogue shorts, and there really wasn't enough comps to compare it to. So then I looked up Title IX Nimbleen shorts. What I got was 11 available and 17 sold. I paid $4.32 for these, and they sold for $18 in 26 days. Now I have a shoe brand that I had never heard of, but as soon as I touched these, I knew that they were something good. The leather was so buttery soft on them. I wished that they were my size, but I could not even get my foot in them. And they were a narrow size too. That's what the AA means there. So Robert Zur, and these were women's driving loafers. I looked up comps for these. The numbers under Robert Zur Petra, which is the style name, were 20 available and 14 sold, so not an excellent sell-through rate, but pretty good. And what I noticed was that some people had them priced really, really high, much higher than what the sold comps actually would reflect. So I decided to put mine in a really reasonable price range and did sell them quickly. So I paid $4. I sold them for $34, and that took 3 days. Next up is a men's item, these BKE jeans. This style is called Tyler Straight, and I liked these because they were also a 33 long. I love finding those long inseams. Now, the price on these, $28, kind of reflects the fact that these had a moderate amount of wear, maybe a little more wear than what I normally pick up jeans with, so I did price them a little lower. I like to get more like $34 to $40 for these. But this pair I paid $9 for, and I sold for $28, and they took 16 days to sell. The sell-through numbers on these, there were 361 available when I typed in BKE Tyler Straight, and 576 sold, so that's a nice good upside-down sell-through rate, a lot more sold than available. When you see those kind of numbers, you know that you're not taking much of a risk buying the item because you're probably not going to sit on it for very long. Now we have these Skechers Shape Ups, and if you haven't seen these before, if you notice the bottom of the shoe, the kind of super wide sole there at the bottom, then you know you have Shape Ups. And these were a women's size. They do come in both men's and women's. These were a size 8.5. I looked up Skechers Shape Ups women's black, and there were 1,119 available and 864 sold. Not an upside down sell-through rate, but I would still put that in the very good range. These I paid $8.70 for, and I sold them for $28. And I sold them on the same day that I listed them. I kind of hoped that these would go for more, but when I did comps, they were a little bit all over the board. A lot of people taking best offers, having had them marked at somewhere around $40, and a lot of people actually selling them for closer to $20. I noticed that the ones with the all-leather tops seem to go for a little bit higher price, so I might keep an eye out for those in the future, but still happy with this sale since it happened so quickly. These Patagonia pants, this is another item I kind of thought would sell for more. I did not run comps in the store, and I might not have bought these if I had looked at the comps. In retrospect, I'm glad I did, of course, because I made a sale and I still did make a profit. So I could not find the style name on these. They did have some numbers, but when I get the pictures, they kind of didn't look like the same pair of pants. So I just put in organic cotton blend hiking outdoor pants in my title, and they still did sell. So I typed in for comps Patagonia men's cotton pants. There were 319 available and 282 sold, so that is a very good sell-through rate, not upside down, but very good. I paid $7.50 for these. They went for $24 and took 3 days to sell. Next up this was my best sale this month, and I was really excited to find this. I had not heard of this brand Ortega's, but as soon as I saw the style of it, it reminded me of the Pendleton wool vests, which I've never found one of those, but I have been keeping my eye out, so when I saw this, I knew that it was probably something good. I looked up Ortega's wool vest and got 9 available and 24 sold. I listed this for $145. I paid $11 for it, and I did sell it within 5 days. Now, if you find one of these, they regularly go for closer to $200. This one happened to be repaired. I noticed that someone repaired both of the seams under the arms, and then I actually had to do some repairs along the seams on the edges and kind of like pull in some of the thread pulls, all of which I took pictures of and described. So I think the buyer is happy with it. I haven't heard otherwise. But otherwise, I definitely think that I would have listed it closer to $200. So just something to keep in mind if you come across one of these. Next up is a pair of Danskos. I mentioned in another video that I'm really careful about the Danskos that I buy now. A lot of the styles aren't doing that well, but some of them are still strong. So Dansko metallic clogs is what I typed in. I got 66 available and 61 sold. Good sell-through rate there. I paid $4.20 for this pair. I realized when I got home that a lot of the piping along the sides had worn off, so where it was black, it was just showing gray. I feel like someone could fix that pretty easily with just a permanent marker, to be honest. But I just listed it with photos of the wear and kind of lowered the price that I was expecting to get for it. So like I said, I paid $4.20. I sold it for $28. And these took 15 days to sell. Another cool item, these are really similar to actually they're exactly the same in a different color, to some pairs that I think were in my last video or maybe 2 videos ago. These were just one size up, the other ones I sold were a size 2, and these are a size 4. So these I paid $4.32 for. I sold them for $20, and they took 12 days to sell. Typing in cool capris brings up 151 available and 132 sold, so not quite upside down, but pretty good. And the 10th item to show you today is this Torrid jacket. Torrid is a brand that's really based on style. It can be hard to get really accurate comps because I pretty much never find a style name. And there were a lot of different military jackets, so the ones that I was comparing it to weren't necessarily the same jacket. But I did type in Torrid military jacket and got 70 available and 54 sold. I basically picked this up because I liked it, I thought it was cute, and I paid $3.65 for it. I sold it for $26, and that took just 3 days to sell. Now, I mentioned I had a couple bonus items, and they don't quite fit into this normal category, so I'll tell you why, but they're things I wanted to show you. This one didn't fit in because it took 5 weeks to sell, and what happened with this was I actually found a full bikini, the top and bottom, and I found a one-piece swimsuit from this brand, which I had never heard of, Malibu Strings, and they were all new with tags. And when I looked it up, almost all of them were selling on auction. There were a few listed as buy it now, but most people were doing auctions, and the prices on the auctions seemed pretty strong, so I went ahead, picked them up, and I ran auctions, and I sold the one piece, and I sold the bikini top, and I sold the bottoms separately, and the top and the bottoms were different sizes, which is why I didn't lot them together. Well, as soon as the auctions ended, the buyer of the top sent me quite a actually rude message saying, I don't want the top, next time sell them together so this doesn't happen to you. At any rate, I offered the top to the buyer of the bottoms, and they weren't interested. They only wanted the bottoms. So that being said, I went ahead and listed these as a buy it now. And I think they did sell in about 30 days as a buy it now, but I had included the time that this was up in the auction. So at any rate, I didn't put this in the normal part of my video, but it did sell fairly quickly for $32. And I paid $5.57 for this, and I mainly included it in here because I had never heard of this brand. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it seems like something to look for. Like I said, if you are checking comps on this, go ahead and filter in the auctions because they were pretty impressive. And one more side note, if you look this brand up, it's kind of a brand for like, I would say like Sports Illustrated swimsuit models, so just have in mind the sorts of pictures that are going to come up on your screen when you look that brand up. And last is a non-clothing item. I've been delving a little bit into jewelry, and this sold quickly for me, so I thought I would include it in here, this Laurel Elliott sterling silver bracelet. This was marked 925, and it was also marked DVB, and when I looked that up, it brought me to the Laurel Elliott page, and she makes a ton of these bracelets that are just like a silver bangle with, some of them have a Bible verse. This one had what's called the meta prayer, which is more of like a spiritual mantra on it. And I paid $6 for this bracelet. I did sell it for $42, and it took 9 days to sell. I looked up Laurel Elliott bracelet silver and got 12 available and 5 sold. And that's not a super great sell-through rate, but again, this is an item where I noticed that a large number of the available listings were priced higher than what the sold listings were. So, for example, someone had the same Meta Prayer bracelet priced for $110. Brand new from the Laurel Elliott website, it only sells for $125, so I think some people are kind of sitting on their items hoping to get maybe a little more than what the resale market is willing to pay. That is something to keep in mind when you're doing comps, is if people are putting unrealistic prices, it might make the sales look a little bit slower than they otherwise would be. And the value of sterling silver right now as just a metal for melting is not that high, so this bracelet is certainly not worth $42 in raw material. I ended up pricing it at what I thought was a very reasonable place, and like I said, sold it in 9 days, so just something to keep in mind. Okay, that's all I have to show you today. Thanks a lot for watching.